screen should be white if we add it to the window. So win.add overview. Okay, we're going to recompile that. If I can get it to work. Here we go. So basically this is just going to be a white screen popping up in a second. White screen. Okay. The next thing that we're going to look at is just adding a basic view to the overview. So we're going to have a view inside a view. So var header equals ti.ui.create view again. Okay, and we have let's do width of ti.ui.fill again, just like the top one, so it should take up the whole width. And I'm just going to do a height of 200, and I'm going to do a background color of red, and then I'm going to add that to overview header. Okay, so what we're going to have is a window that pops up with the overview, which is going to be a view of the whole thing, covering the whole window. Inside that, we're going to have a header, which is going to have a height of 200, so it's going to take up 200 pixels on that screen, and it should fill up the whole width of its parent container, which is overview. So we'll go ahead and start that. Okay, so we have the red bar in the middle, and it's taking up the whole parent, and its height is 200. So that's all we have so far. Let's add another view. Let's see, var, let's call this one body equals ti.ui.create view. Okay, we'll basically do the same thing, but we're going to make this one blue. And overview.add body. And I think here's the very first thing that starts to trip people up. So we're going to save this and we're going to run it. I do most of my testing for this kind of thing on the iPhone simulator because it compiles and builds a lot faster, but so far everything should be the same for iPhone and Android if you're testing on Android. Yeah, maybe in a little bit I'll run an Android test. So let's see, is this almost up? Okay, there's the first problem. The problem we're having is that most people expect the red one to be on top of the blue one, something like maybe how you would see in divs. I'm sorry, the red one will be like on top and the blue one will be just below that, like you would see on divs on the web. But that doesn't happen in this, and what's actually happening is the overview's adding this one, and then it's adding this one right in the exact same spot. So that's, no good. So maybe we'll try here's the first thing a lot of people do is top 0. They see the top attribute in the API and you go top 0. Okay, that'll solve that problem. And then we'll do the top 200 on this one. Right? Great. And maybe that will give us what we want initially, but this will quickly lead to a lot of problems. So we'll see how this pops up. if it'll load. Okay, cool. So we've got this patriotic looking, thing that's kind of what we expect to see. Well, that's all well and good. Maybe we want to add another one here, another 10 pixels so we get a little separation in between them. But I think a lot of you could see that managing this all the time, and every time you change the content in the top one, you got to re-change how far down the second one is, and you know, what if I make this 300 because I want some more room, then I gotta figure out how far to drop this one down. That all gets very convoluted and time consuming very quickly. So what a lot of people seem to miss on the views is the layout and vertical. So I put this attribute layout vertical on the overview, and what that's going to do is here, let's put these back to how they were, and we'll just move the header. We'll declare all of these at the bottom. So you have the layout's vertical, and what it's going to do is the first thing that you add to it's going to be put on top, and the second thing you add to it's going to be put right below that. So let's see how that works. Okay, that's kind of what we wanted, right? That's kind of what we expected. Let's maybe drop this down to 100 so we can kind of see it, and then we'll add a top of 10 on here, and we can get what this top of 10 will do is it'll, since this gets added right below header, it'll put 10 pixels in between header and body. So let's see if that pops up. It's not going to have the gap here because I pressed compile before I made that change, but so there, oh, I guess it did catch that. Okay, so we got 100 height header and a body of 200, and there's 10 in between. Well, okay, great. So now we have kind of the basics of how to avoid that problem of having to do top and weird position absolutes and trying to do all this math of figuring out how far everything should be down all the time. So the next thing you're going to want to do is maybe put some elements, some labels in it. So we'll kind of section this off a little bit. Let's see. We'll go do some comments to help keep us organized. Header. And copy that. Just we'll go body. Okay. Okay, so we have our overview and we have our header. And we're just going to ignore the body for a little bit. How about some text in the head? So we'll do var, let's see, var head text equals ti.ui.create label. And we'll give this some properties. Let's see, we want, let's go ahead and do a fixed width of 100 and height of 30. And we'll go text header, and we'll do background color green. So unless I screwed up somewhere, that looks good, and we'll add this to the header. Great. Okay, let's go ahead and compile that and make sure everything's working like we think it should. When you're working with views and stuff, I don't recommend writing a whole lot and then compiling at the end and trying to figure out what happened. You know, add little bits at a time, and maybe waste a little time compiling, but at least you can see how it pieces together and sort of fix problems as they arise instead of waiting until the end. Okay, so we have header. It's green. It's got a height of 30 and a fixed width of, a fixed width of 100. So that's why we have some stuff on the end. One thing we can do if we just want, we want this green box, this head text to wrap the text exactly. So we're going to change the this width property to ti.ui.size. And you can do the same thing right here. Oops. Let's just copy and paste that. So that works on text, and that would in fact work on the on anything, pretty much any view. away that background color, it would just look like a nice little thing there. Nice and centered and everything. So that's probably what you're looking for in a lot of labels. The next thing is you notice this is back in the middle of the view again. So probably don't want that. So on header is what is going to be controlling that. So let's do a layout vertical again. Great. Okay, let's go ahead and iPhone simulator that guy. Again, this should bring this green head text up to the top. If we give it a second here. Okay, header up at the top. Again, you can apply the top to one of these, so top, we'll go with 10. We're not going to run that right now. It's pretty basic. We'll see next time I run it. So great. Now let's create another text. We'll call it head subtext. Head underscore subtext. And this will be header subtext. And let's make this one, let's make it orange. And we'll have another top of 10, so it should be 10 below this one, and we will add header.add head subtext. Okay, let's go ahead and run that, make sure everything's working like we think it should. Okay, header subtext, there you go. Here's another thing. Let's see, let's do this a couple more times. Let's go with sub, and we'll go sub. Okay. Okay, so we got header subtext, header subtext, header subtext. Let's go ahead and change these to match. Sub, and sub. And what we're going to see is that actually the subtext is missing because it is outside of the header size. So let's see. If it ever launches. Okay, yep, we're missing the sub. So to fix that, the error that we're having here essentially is that we have the height fixed. So it's only going to show 100 pixels no matter how much stuff is in that view. So we're going to change this one to ti.ui.size. As you can see, the UI.fill and UI.size become extremely useful. So we'll copy that one more time, make sure everything's going as we think it should. And let's see. Header sub. Great, we got it. Cool. Just for fun, let's go ahead and change this instead of fill. You can see how the size and fill really work. Size again. And we'll run that one more time. good part about doing everything inside of other views is that if we don't want everything right up against the side, excuse me, we can just change this 1 to 10. So since all of those are inside of header, inside of that red square, and this is 10 away, then this is a left 10, then it will push everything 10 pixels away from the left side of the screen, so you get a little bit of separation there, a little bit of a padding, however you want to put it. And by the way, when I say pixels, I mean density independent pixels, or whatever the iPhone equivalent is, or whatever. You guys are going to have to just bear with me. I like the word pixels, so it's easy. Okay, so everything's 10. If we take away all these colors, all of a sudden this doesn't look so bad. And that's really cool if you just want to keep adding lines of text below each other, or a picture, and then text below that, and then another picture, or something like that. But what about if you want to get sort of a maybe a picture here and a bunch of text on the right side? So let's go ahead and do that in the body. So let's see. Well, right here we will go with, I call this view inception. So we're going to have body. Let's see. We'll go with left bar, left text equals ti.ui.create label. Let's see. Width, we're going to be, let's do ti.ui.size again. Height, again, is ti.ui.size. Let's make the text left side. And let's do a background color gray. Okay. And let's go ahead and make a right side text. We'll have multiple parts in the right side, so we'll have a column of left side text and a column of right side text, and they're just going to sit next to each other, basically. So you could have an image there where that left side text is, or whatever you wanted. ti.ui.create label. We'll go with, let's see, let's just copy this out right there. And text is going to be right side. And let's see, we're going to make this a background color of orange. And we'll just copy that. And we'll go with right side again. Right side again. And we're going to make this one a background of green. Okay, so how do we go about getting the left text to stay on the left and the right text to stay on the right? That's where you start getting views inside of views inside of views, because we want the right side one to be just above right side again. So you'll have something like this: left side, tab, tab, right side, right side again. You guys see what I mean? So that's how kind of the goal we're going for. So we can have, you know, if we wanted, we could keep going on this other one, right side again, and put as much as we want, and it's just going to keep dropping down everything underneath each other. Unless I have any compiler errors, I think I'll be okay. Oh, invalid method. Yep, misspelled label. Let's see. And right there. Anything else? Let's see, what did I do here? Horizontal. Oh, I didn't add header horizontal. Okay, so we gotta go dot add header hors. So if you don't add it to anything, it won't show up. I guess that makes sense. Okay, so now they're all just to the right and just does weird things when you run out of room a little bit. Anyway, so that's the way these work. Just puts them next to each other instead of putting them below each other. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. We'll just leave it all in there, but we won't add it so it doesn't show up. Now let's see how we can do this. We're going to use a horizontal to create the effect we wanted. So if you remember, we have a left text, a right side one, and a right side again. So we have a layout horizontal width of ti dot fill and height of ti dot ui dot size. So this will go all the way across the screen, and then the size will be the however tall all the stuff in it is. And we will give this a background color of let's go with red. Okay, before we forget, let's body dot add horizontal container. Okay, so if we were to add horizontal container dot add left side text, we were to add horizontal container dot add right side one, horizontal dot underscore container dot add right side. Oops. Again, what we're going to get is all of these things right next to each other, and that's almost what we want. What we really want is right side one on top of right side again, not all of them right next to each other. So we'll see how, make sure this comes out like we think it's going to come out so far. Left side text. 111. Let's see, what did we call it? Oh, just left text. Sorry guys, let's see. left text, that's going to be the first thing on the left. And to the right of that is going to be a vertical container that's inside the horizontal container. And that vertical container is going to contain the right side and the right side again. So they should be on top of each other. So let's see how this all works out. Hopefully I don't have any typos. Oh, I do have typo. Let's see. Vertical inside horizontal. Oh, I didn't put an add there, did I? No, I didn't. Dot add. Try this one more time. Okay, there you have it. So left side, right side again. All of this is inside of another container that we could put at the top or whatever we wanted to do. But this other container is the horizontal container, and this pink one is the vertical inside of horizontal container. So let's go ahead and change this red one. Instead of fill, let's make this size. Let's go ahead and put the left text to the top because that might look a little nicer. 0. Let's see, is there anything else we want to mix up? Maybe, for now that's probably good. Let's give this a little bit of a padding there. We'll go 20. Okay, so you have the left side right side again. Everything seems to be working perfectly. So basically that's how it works. I'll go ahead and launch the Android emulator as I talk about my final thoughts, and maybe I'll make another video when that actually launches. Who knows? Oh, there. Yeah, this is going to be a while. I guess the bulk of everything is over. All of the information. Again, these don't have to be just text. You could put images in here, or buttons, or whatever you want. But you know, if you wanted to have something side by side again here, you just keep adding horizontal or vertical views, and that way you don't have to deal with everything being on top or you know, whatever you want to do. This is a lot easier than trying to say everything, you know, this should be 200 down, and this should be 110 down, and this should be 0 down, and this should be also 210 down, but to the left 150. You know, you just keep adding vertical and horizontal layouts. It keeps everything a lot more simple. And let's see, this Android emulator is almost up. I believe all of this should have worked out fine unless I made some stupid error in the Android emulator. So let's see. If it ever loads. Freaking Android, you know. Alright, let's go ahead and I will show you our mobile wine app, in which one of the guys working on it used this exact sort of process to create a profile page. You can see maybe what it looks like when everything's cleaned up and a little bit nicer. So there's our Wine Life app. It's logging us in, and let's hit profile. There you go. So we have the image inside of a left text. This is all inside of another view. This is all a different view. This is on the right. This is another horizontal view. Or sorry, this is all a vertical view. Yeah, I don't think this Android thing's going to load, but this should all work on there anyway, and if it doesn't, then you're going to want to research why.